Jamar Chase suspended? Abdul Carter, was he sleeping? And Joe Burrow, perhaps a Turkey Day return. What a gift! That and more coming up. Manchild Show with Boy Green. Digital starts now.
Let's go! It's time for the talk to you. 'Cause when it's born, it's always coming to. If Boy Green is always on the scene, it was gonna always bring to life. So get ready, get ready, 'cause here they come.
All right, a little Wednesday action for you this morning. It's our NFL segment every single Wednesday with our NFL Insider. We'll bring them aboard in just a second. Lots of little news and notes. We're getting closer and closer, still a week away from all the Turkey Day games. So here we go. Get ready for Thanksgiving, everybody. But we got one more Thursday night game to get out of the way. The Buffalo Bills will be in action against the Houston Texans on Thursday night. But lots of stories, lots of news and notes, and lots of games to preview and review. Let's bring him in. He's our NFL Insider for all things NFL. He's from PFF. It's our old pal, Dalton Wasserman. And today's broadcast brought to you by our friends at Crest Cadillac. What's up, Dalton? How are you?
Good. Listen, I almost overslept for this one. I know that's kind of been a theme, but listen, I would never miss a meeting with you guys. So got here just on time to, get in and have a little fun here.
All right, I'm the Giants guy, so let's just dig in on it right away. I mean, it is a kind of an embarrassing situation, to say the least. Did he, didn't he sleep? It's a he said, they said kind of thing. What do you make of it all? It's Abdul Carter, and we were talking with our Giants insider about this a little bit earlier this week. Is Abdul Carter perhaps needing to improve his level of maturity? That maybe there's a lack of maturity here in terms of the way he has answered this call and the way he has kind of, I use the old draft day movie analogy. Is he our guy Bo Callahan, and is he doubling down on the lie? Like the $100 bill. Yeah, fellas, it was in there. That whole story. All right, go ahead. Comment on Abdul Carter and the sleeping incident.
Yeah, I think sometimes it's just not as public as missing the first series of a game or anything like that where people start to question it. But I think young guys go through this, right? You come up through college, you're the superstar, you're the third overall pick. And sometimes in college, those guys can get away with things, right? And I think in the NFL, and it kind of speaks to what the Giants, what they're trying to figure out with their leadership, with the coaching staff and everything else, how they need to go about holding players accountable. So I don't think it's a big deal long term. We really didn't hear much like this about Abdul Carter at Penn State. And this is the first time really that at least I've heard anything of this nature about him. So the discipline was handed down, and hopefully it's just kind of the process taking over and the discipline of a young guy getting a little bit better as time goes on.
All right, we got breaking news coming in here. I love it when we get to do this here on the show, Dalton. So we'll get your first, 100%. Give us the Sports Center thing. Here it is. Shedeur Sanders officially will be making the first start of his NFL career against the Las Vegas Raiders. That just coming in seconds ago, so he will get the first start. Last week, of course, he had a relief appearance for Dylan Gabriel, who was battling a concussion, and it appears Dylan Gabriel will not be ready, so in turn, they go to Shedeur Sanders, who did have a chance at the end of that game to make things interesting against Baltimore, was unable to do so. Dalton Wasserman, your first blush reaction to Shedeur Sanders making his first start. What do you think of it?
Certainly there's going to be calm and cool responses all the way around, no matter how he plays, right? But no, I think, look, I'm somebody who was a big believer in Shedeur Sanders coming out of Colorado and going into the draft. He certainly was better than a fifth-round talent, right? We all can kind of agree that he didn't drop to the fifth round because of his talent level. This guy can play. I mean, I think, you're dealing with a tough supporting cast here in Cleveland. The Ravens are a tough matchup with their defense playing a lot better last week, and he was coming in cold off the bench. So now I think it is interesting to see him with a full week of practice. Yes, with the ones, as they say, he hasn't gotten any reps with the ones before, which is standard operating procedure for most backup quarterbacks. I don't think that should have been a surprise to anybody, but I believe in his ability to run the offense. He's got to not bail out of the pocket so much and take too many bad sacks, but I think he could lead them to a win this week against a Raiders team that's really struggling.
What's crazy about this to me, Dalton, and tell me if you agree, is that I almost think there are people inside the Browns organization rooting against this guy going out and getting it done. Like if he went out and had a good week, it's almost like it creates a nightmare for them because, they didn't want any of the rookies starting at the beginning of the season. Then they jettisoned off the vets, and now Dylan Gabriel's their guy, and this guy's just a backup. And, we picked him just because the value was fantastic. Whatever the reason was that the Browns made that pick, which is one of the most bizarre picks in the history of the draft. And now if the guy does go out and ball, now they got a real PR problem. Like the PR problem isn't bad enough. Now it just got worse.
I mean, look, you kind of hope on the 1% chance he could become your franchise quarterback that would be the case. But I think it just speaks to, look at the history of this Cleveland Browns team. Over 25 years, they couldn't find a quarterback. They finally found one in Baker Mayfield, and they quit on him. I mean, this is just how they've handled quarterback situations forever, drafting the wrong guys, not being able to develop them, quitting on the wrong guys. I mean, I think that's just kind of the history of the Browns, right, at least in the last 30 years or so. So, I think as far as that goes, there's probably people in the building that disagreed with drafting him at all. And now we're just seeing the repercussions of that. And I think, when people talk about the practice reps and things like that, it's more about why he didn't get more reps in training camp, right? When you brought in Joe Flacco and traded for Kenny Pickett and drafted Dylan Gabriel and Sanders, there just never seemed to be a clear and concise plan on how to go about this season at that position. But he's getting an opportunity here. If he plays well in this game, maybe he gets a chance down the stretch to prove that he can be their guy. And if not, then we'll be talking about this again in the offseason.
The Browns have a top 5 pick as it currently stands right now, or somewhere in that range. It's in the top 10. Are they, and they have 2 first-round picks because of the Travis Hunter trade, are they a lock with that first-round pick that's currently residing in the top 10 to take a quarterback in your mind, Dalton Wasserman?
No, I don't think anybody's a lock in the top 5 to take a quarterback right now. I'm not super impressed with the top of this quarterback class. Now, obviously, guys will get pushed up as they become available and as the urgency rises for certain teams to get one. But I think the most likely guy right now might be a Fernando Mendoza from Indiana, who's having a great year there. Ty Simpson struggled for Alabama against Oklahoma last week. Maybe somebody convinces themselves on Lenore Sellers from South Carolina. But I don't think there's any surefire bets. And the Browns, look, regardless of who their quarterback is right now, their offensive line and their receiving core is not good enough to win games consistently. So they could easily take those 2 first-round picks and try to help those 2 positions, offensive line and wide receiver, and deal with the quarterback problem later.
Dalton, we've got some viewers out there looking for, I think, kind of some fantasy advice here. Jamie, the FedEx guy, one of our longtime fantasy players, not particularly asking about fantasy, but he really is asking about fantasy here. He says, is there a no-name receiver out there, let's just say a lesser-known guy, obviously they all have names, all right, that could have a huge game, like a Luther Burden on the Bears or someone like that? He's looking for a diamond in the rough, I suppose, off the waiver wire or something, or maybe to trade for. What do you think? Is there anybody out there that's going to have a big one like, say, Michael Wilson did for Boy Green against me in fantasy last week? Oh, good grief.
I'm trying to think of some matchups in this one. Burden's a pretty good call because, Caleb Williams has been making a lot of plays lately. I'm curious to see if we can get a second solid game out of Xavier Legette from Carolina. He had a big touchdown last week, started to make some plays, and it's a guy who's really struggled through his first year and a half. And against San Francisco, they've given up the most completions in the NFL on throws of 10 or more air yards. And if Bryce Young can keep the confidence he had last week, throwing the football downfield, didn't really have it the first half of the year, and then found it against Atlanta last week, I think Xavier Legette might be a guy to look out for to make 3 or 4 big catches.
All right. Speaking of no-name receivers,
if my boy Shadur could help out my guy Tillman. He's been
Cedric Tillman
kind of quiet. He was hurt for a while. Could Shadur give Tillman some value? I'm sorry, BG. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask. You mentioned it. Again, me beating you in fantasy football. Boy Green greater than Manchild in fantasy football. I appreciate.
Why don't we pop up the standings and we'll have
it's not immediately available. I'm having some Wi-Fi issues over here. Not sure what's going on there, but what I can tell you is that Michael Wilson was a big reason that I won this past week. I'm curious, going over to you, Dalton, on Michael Wilson. Is that just it's the NFL and crazy crap happens on random games? Or do the Cardinals have something here, Michael Wilson, and that maybe it won't be this level of performance, which was historic in a lot of ways, but that he can actually be something for this Cardinals team moving forward?
And Jacoby Brissett, the gunslinger, Dalton, what the heck? Yeah. What's going on
47 completions. I saw your boy Trevor, your coach, say, what the hell? Yeah, it's an NFL record.
Yeah, I mean, look, Wilson's a good player, and if he can continue, maybe not that level of production with that many targets and catches, especially, I believe Marvin Harrison was out for that game. But when you talk about, him being a solid player, good route runner, really good in contested situations, then they need to use him more. I think there's games where we've seen where he's kind of disappeared, and they just haven't used him very much. And I like the ability of Brissett to get the ball downfield. He's been throwing the ball vertically downfield better than Kyler Murray was when he was in there, right? And he's made himself some money for another few years as at least a high-end backup, right? But I think that's a big thing is they fell behind early in that game. The first play of the game, they fell behind, and they just had to keep gunning it, and they're really struggling to run the football right now. So part of it is volume, but Wilson is a good player, and if he could continue to produce for him as that number two, you have a great tight end in Trey McBride, you have Marvin Harrison on the other side. Maybe that's an all-passing offense that does have some potential regardless of who their quarterback is, because that's going to be a big question coming into 2026.
All right, you saw the spitting incident, Dalton. So we have another spitting incident in the NFL, despite denials after the event. It seems pretty clear that Jamar Chase did spit. So a one-game suspension, fair, unfair? What do you think of it?
Completely fair. I mean, it's what Jalen Carter effectively got. Now he got time served because he didn't play at all in that week 1 game, but it's completely fair. I feel like this isn't just a football lesson, it's a life lesson. Just don't spit on people. I mean, we saw it with Jalen Carter. I saw it the very next week after Jalen Carter in a Florida Gator game that it cost the Gators a game, and now you see it with Jamar Chase. I'm just like, look, what is the point? Obviously the disrespectful nature of it, but it's like, what is the point? And the cameras are everywhere, and you're going to get caught, and I know Ramsey took a swing, and honestly, at that point, I don't really blame him for it, right? And obviously, we've seen no punishment from Ramsey. Even Mike Tomlin said, right, is if you get spit on, whatever happens. I mean, yeah. Sticking up for his guy there as he should. I just don't. It's just pretty much this year, this stupid thing of the year that we've seen multiple guys do, and I don't understand the point of it at all. But yeah, the suspension is completely fair.
Yeah, and just so everyone knows out there in the universe, so Jamar Chase was suspended for a game. He attempted to appeal that suspension. It was overheard by Jordy Nelson, who's part of that committee over there, and upheld, which, again, from the NFL, I imagine that isn't a surprise either. So just to throw that out there in the universe, that, again, that was there as well. Let me throw in some questions out there, again, from the audience. We keep diving in. J_D_S. All right, Dalton Wasserman. Rank these 3 quarterbacks for the rest of the season: Justin Herbert, Brock Purdy, Joe Burrow.
Oh, are we talking fantasy or real or what?
I don't know.
Do it for real.
Yeah, for real. Yeah.
Wow, that's tough. That's tough because you got 3 really different situations there. I'm going to say Justin Herbert 1.
Ooh.
Man, if we're talking just stats in the production, I'll say Herbert 1, Joe Burrow 2, Brock Purdy 3. I mean, it's a really that's a hard one depending on the context of what you're asking. Because if you're talking for a whole season in a vacuum, I would probably say Burrow. But Herbert's done such a great job of working around a really bad offensive line this year, and he's got a better team to work with. Burrow, obviously, the O-line is not great, and the defense isn't great, so he's going to have to put up numbers even to have a chance. And Purdy, I just think he's a step behind those 2 guys. He came in last week and played reasonably well, but I think he's a little more propped up by the supporting cast there. I'll go Herbert for now, then Burrow, then Purdy.
Dalton, be ready on your Twitter mentions. Headline reads: Dalton Wasserman hates Brock Purdy's guts. So that's coming, pal. That's coming.
It happens once a week. Don't worry. It's happened with half the quarterbacks in the league. Not worried about it.
And listen, folks, I don't want to discourage anybody from asking questions, but Dalton is not our fantasy guy. That's on Friday, and that's Joe Bartle. Dalton is our NFL insider who gives insight.
I could do my best with it. I'm in second place in my league now.
How many leagues are you playing? Yeah,
just one. I've got one serious one. I'm getting carried by Matt Stafford and Puka Nacua. I'm riding the Rams to success. Okay. So we'll see how long that hot streak keeps going. But I could do 1 or 2 a show. I don't mind it.
Let's talk about Joe Burrow for a minute. The thought is here that he is back practicing with the team and that he is targeting himself, and we'll see if the team is going to be in agreement with him to be back. They do play on Thanksgiving Day, and he is hoping to play on Thanksgiving Day. Does it make any sense for Joe Burrow to come back this season? Forget about this, in another week and a half.
I mean, on the surface, probably not, because my assumption is they're going to lose to New England this week without Jamar Chase, and then they're going to be 3-8. So you're at a point there in the division where you'd have to rattle off all six your final 6 games and go 9-8, and then hope you have the tiebreaker right and see where else things stand. I mean, I get it. He wants to come back. He's a competitor, and as long as they have any sort of pulse that he can be involved in, then they've got a shot, right? But it's going to probably involve winning 6 games in a row, including 2 out of 3, two Raven games in the first 3 weeks that he's coming back. You'd have to win both those games, obviously, in Baltimore on Thanksgiving night. That's going to be a tough one as well, as far as a short week of preparation. But I mean, I get it. Him coming back on the surface, I want to say, just, hey, protect yourself. The offensive line's not great. The season's over and all that. But as long as they have a pulse, he's going to want to play. So I understand it from Burrow's perspective.
Do you think the Chicago Bears, I know we have Jamie, the FedEx guy, in our comment section. He's a diehard Bears fan. Are they for real? They're at 7-3. They host the Pittsburgh Steelers. We'll see if Aaron Rodgers, that's another storyline to talk about, but we'll see if he's going to be able to suit up for this contest. He's fighting to be able to do so, and his potential ownership of the Chicago Bears. Are the Bears for real, Dalton Wasserman?
To the extent that for real means they're an obvious playoff contender at 7-3 and they're much improved, and maybe they're a contender to win the NFC North depending on what happens head to head down the stretch here, then yeah, they're for real. They are a good team. I wouldn't put them in the Super Bowl caliber yet. I don't think Caleb Williams is quite ready for that yet. I don't think their defense is quite ready for that yet. When you talk about, to me, the prime contenders in the NFC being the Eagles and the Rams, I don't think they're on that level. But if you want to talk about for real, if they're a good team and Ben Johnson guiding this team to the playoffs, then absolutely. I don't think they're going to turn around and lose, sit here and lose their last 7 games or anything like that. He's done a great job of guiding Williams. They're running the football well. Their offensive line is good, and they've been winning close games. I think that's the biggest thing with the Bears more than anything. If they're going to make the playoffs, along the way, they've learned how to win close games when so often in the past they've found ways to lose.
Let me pick up that conversation right where you left off and talk about Aaron Rodgers. I said it on our Monday live show that if I'm a Steelers fan, I want this guy out there in a cast doing everything he can to play. It's his non-throwing hand. If it's an issue, delivering handoffs and receiving the snap, then I guess I get it that he doesn't play. But I think, they've had the Ben Roethlisbergers of the world. They've had the Terry Bradshaws of the world. They are used to their quarterbacks showing up in big games. And they are in crisis right now because here come the Baltimore Ravens. And the Steelers want to win that division, and they certainly want to finish in front of the Ravens. So they need their full complement of guys when possible. It sounds like Aaron Rodgers has listened to my advice, PR 101, and he is seemingly doing everything he can to get ready. Let's talk about that. Should he play? What are your thoughts about Aaron Rodgers essentially toughing it out, considering that it's his non-throwing wrist?
I mean, I give him a lot of credit if he does, right? Because this is a huge game going into Chicago. The Bears are running hot right now, and you got the Ravens, like you mentioned, coming right at your heels, and they've won 4 in a row. So this division race is starting right now, and you already know Aaron Rodgers doesn't want to miss any games against the team he owns, right? So I mean, that's kind of the thing there with him. I think the other bit of this is Aaron Rodgers and the conservative nature of how he plays is generally pretty good at avoiding turnovers. The Chargers game a couple weeks ago notwithstanding, and the Bears force a lot of turnovers, right? That's going to be the big thing, is which quarterback can go out there and really be secure and safe with the football to keep them in this game. Rodgers has been generally good with that this year. You have questions about that if it's Mason Rudolph out there. I'd be a little worried about that part of it, especially in obvious passing situations. So, I give him a lot of credit. If he's going to try to tough it out and play, then cool. Like you mentioned, it's his non-throwing hand that makes it a little easier, and they may have to make some adjustments, but they're going to need him, I think, to win this game.
Dalton, the New England Patriots at 9-2 are pretty good. They're a pretty good team. However, there have been some suggestions by the general public, the great unwashed, that New England may be a little lucky. Tampa Bay, they were down a lot of players. Now Jamar Chase, up Spitgate. Sorry, pal. He's out for the Cincinnati Bengals game. Do they have a 4-leaf clover shoved in a certain part of their body, Dalton Wasserman?
Maybe, but I also think they're just really good. I would have picked them. I would have picked them pretty solidly to beat the Bengals, even with Jamar Chase. I mean, the Bengals have the worst defense in football, right? And I expect the Patriots to go out there and score 30 plus, to be honest with you. I mean, Tampa Bay, even with some of the injuries they have, that was a good football game on the road against a good team. And we know Baker Mayfield always gives you a puncher's chance. And do we not remember them going into Buffalo and finding a way to win on Sunday Night Football? I mean, how much more do you need to see from the Patriots to think that, oh, this team's actually actually really good, 9-2, going on 10-2. I mean, and then you look at their schedule. At the end of the day, they're going to win 13 or 14 games, I think. And you have any team, I don't care how lucky, people can call you. You win at least 13 games in the NFL, you're really darn good. That you can luck your way to 9 or 10 wins. You can't luck your way to 13, 14. They're awesome, and Drake May's a legit MVP candidate.
We're talking to our NFL insider, his name, Dalton Wasserman from PFF. Today's broadcast brought to you by our friends at Crest Cadillac. Let's just take 30 seconds to learn a little bit more about our friends from Crest.
Cadillac certified pre-owned vehicles, exclusively available in Central New York at your participating Cadillac dealer, Crest Cadillac. Each one must meet high standards and receives a 172-point inspection, along with a 1-year unlimited mile warranty after the original warranty expires. Come into Crest Cadillac in Syracuse today for exceptional offers on Cadillac certified pre-owned models. CrestCadillac.com.
All right, back with Dalton Wasserman talking all things inside the NFL. Dalton, let's get into this week's schedule. The game I want to highlight is certainly one that Vegas is playing tricks, I think, on the bettors about. It opened at 9.5. I'm talking about Kansas City hosting the Colts. The Colts coming off a bye with a fantastic record. Okay, and very efficient play all year from their quarterback, Daniel Jones. They have the best running back in football right now, and Jonathan Taylor, who's just exploding every game, coming off a massive game where he rushed for over 200 yards. And it opened at 9.5. Now, it has shrunk down to 3.5, but still, Kansas City favored by 3.5 over a team that has far more wins than they do. Let's talk about that game. And what is Vegas doing to us here? They're playing with our minds.
Is the 9.5 the open from the preseason? What are we looking at here?
It's insane, right?
There's no way on Sunday night or Monday it was 9.5. Is that real?
It is real. And I think what happened, Dalton, is this is Vegas knowing that everybody wants to be on Kansas City's side because they know how desperate Kansas City is and how important this game is to them, especially coming off that last week loss. And the thought is, how do we get people to pick Indy? Oh, make it 9.5 and it'll all go over there. And they did. And now the thing shrunk all the way to 3.5. And maybe you have a little bit more of a realistic spread here. I mean, they are home. So essentially it's almost like a flat spread, 3.5 and you're at home basically means, the odds makers think it's even Steven. Go ahead.
I'll just tell you, just to give the source real quick, I use Vegas Insider has always been our spread choice for all our games. So yeah, that's what they had it at 9.5.
Okay then. All right, that seems a little disrespectful to Indy, doesn't it? I mean, even at 3.5, you get the hook. You get the hook there. Absolutely. I might take the Colts. I might take the Colts anyway. That's just good betting. I mean, the Colts offense is still really good. Now, Daniel Jones hasn't been quite as safe with the football lately. You look at our numbers, 9 turnover-worthy plays over the last 2 games. That's not great. So he's got to protect the football better. But I think Shane Steichen is going to put him in position to do that. I think they can go in here and run the football well. And then there's going to be a half dozen times or so where it's going to be Jones versus Steve Spagnuolo, and those will be the biggest plays of the game. But I'd be curious. I think at this point, 10 games in, we have to really question what this Kansas City offense is, right? I mean, last week against Denver, they just couldn't create any explosive plays. And I know the last few years they've made the Super Bowl by kind of this death by 1,000 paper cuts approach. Well, it's not working right now, and they're not running the football well. So I think you got a fascinating – I do think it's going to be a close game, but the idea that Indy Open is that big an underdog is kind of – it's just wild to me. I mean, they're 8-2 with arguably the best offense in football.
Yeah, and some of those, talk about those down the field things. Mahomes missed a few. Like, he doesn't usually miss throws. He had Worthy on one. He just missed them. There were a couple of throws there that I was like, that's Patrick Mahomes? What the heck is going on with Patrick Mahomes now? I thought we had this offensive thing solved. It was just a defensive problem in Kansas City. Apparently, there's still an offensive player a problem, as you just noted. Go ahead, BG.
Yeah, just more breaking news. This one's from the Atlanta Falcons that it's official that it's not surprising, but still breaking nonetheless. Michael Penix is officially out for the season with a torn ACL. And the thing that I just want to throw over to you here, Dalton, for folks who, and you're uniquely qualified to answer this question as someone who does both college and NFL coverage. If people know the Michael Penix story, this was not the first season-ending injury he's had. Unfortunately, Michael Penix has had several of them. I have some of the history here for people who don't know. 2018, torn ACL. 2019, season-ending shoulder injury. 2020, torn ACL. 2025, another torn ACL. I mean, man, what is like? Obviously, the Falcons used a top 10 pick on him, so you got to think he's still their guy no matter what. But man, the devastating injuries. He wasn't playing great this season. A lot of questions here.
Yeah, I mean, and that was on top of, what was it, a bone bruise or something? He had his foot earlier in the season as well. So I think that was really a big concern. On top of, look, his 2 healthy years at Washington, he was outstanding. He was one of the best quarterbacks in the country. But this is something that came up with taking Penix this high was, he's got a long injury history, and these aren't just, just being banged up or missing a game here and there. These are major injuries. Each of his 4 years at Indiana involved a season-ending injury there. So, I mean, you look at this and it's very concerning, right? And I think I was reading during the break there that he's going to be out at least 9 months, right? That puts you out into at least the preseason next year. And what is the Falcons, what is their solution at quarterback next year if he's not ready? Because that 9 months a lot of times is on the minimum side of these ACL tears. It could be anywhere from 9 to 12. So now you have a major question. It's not going to be Kirk Cousins. They can't keep him on the payroll, but they may have to figure out some sort of short-term quarterback solution when it comes to the beginning of next season as well. This is about as bad a news as they could have gotten out of this.
Yeah, no doubt. Let's talk about a couple other games I want to hit with you, Dalton. One of them, an NFC East battle, the Eagles against the Cowboys. The Cowboys kind of showed something in their last game. First of all, we know they are a very potent offense, and obviously Dak and those 2 receivers, dangerous against anybody, but it has been that porous Dallas defense. But now with the addition of Quinnen Williams and getting back some guys from injury and the other guy that they added, I'm forgetting his name right now, the linebacker, all of a sudden they've got like 5 new starters in that lineup the other night, and it actually looked pretty decent. Give me your thoughts about the Cowboys moving forward here.
Yeah, I think this is the step up, and we're going to see the real test of how good this Cowboys front 7 is. But you're right, Logan Wilson there at linebacker coming over from the Bengals, a veteran presence, getting DeMarvion Overshown back from injuries big time, because that linebacking core really, I thought, was something that struggled even more so than their defensive line and their D-line, obviously. You guys and I, we came on here and talked about how we thought the Jets really won this Quinnen Williams trade, and I still believe that with the 2 picks that they got. But Quinnen Williams is pretty darn good. We've watched that for a long time there in New York, and he's a guy who can change just the dynamic of your defensive line, right? He's your top defensive tackle. You can get Odigizua out of there and run situations and then put him in passing downs. You've got Donovan Ezeraku, the young second-round pick off the edge, who's playing really well. I think it's a great test for their front 7 against an Eagles offensive line. We're not sure if they're going to have Lane Johnson out there at right tackle. That's a big deal. And look, even in their wins lately, the Eagles offense hasn't looked very good. So we're going to find out if that front 7's for real. If it is, they have a shot to win this game, because you could argue the Cowboys should have beat Philly week 1 in Philly.
100%. You can strongly make that argument. Again, Dalton Wasserman here of PFF here for just a few more minutes. Another game I wanted to throw at you, Sunday Night Football. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, LA Rams. It looks juicy. Tampa Bay, of course, has fallen on some rougher times. It hasn't been as great as it was earlier in the year, and the Rams look like a nonstop locomotive that's coming towards you. What do you think of this NFC clash?
I'm a little worried about the Bucs defense in this one. To me, when they get to play more veteran quarterbacks that can see what Todd Bowles is trying to do to them, they have some issues, right? He's got a long history of really dominating against younger quarterbacks and rookies and things of that nature. But when those veteran guys can see the blitz packages and understand what Bowles is trying to do, it's a problem. And Stafford is obviously one of those guys at 36 years old, right? And I would argue he's the MVP of the league right now. And the Bucs' problem also on defense is when they don't blitz, they really don't get a whole lot of pressure. It's not great. So when you can't get pressure on a guy like Matthew Stafford, and if this Rams team is able to pass protect, I think you're in for a long night. I really like the Rams in this matchup at home.
Well, Dalton, the game of the week, the one that really matters to this show, is a game where I don't know where Vegas's head is at. 13.5 points. I really don't get it. That's the Baltimore Ravens hosting my partner's New York Jets. He's got a beard shave on the line here, Dalton. If the Jets don't come through and get the victory, he's going to look a little more like you than he looks like himself. So give me your thoughts. Are you saying they got a chance? That's what he wants to hear.
Wait a minute. You got to shave the beard if the Jets lose to the Ravens?
Wait. Let me just clear this.
Wait. What's the bet here? That seems too easy.
Yeah, it wasn't with me, by the way. Go ahead. Tell him about the bet.
Okay. All right. So we had a caller call into my morning show. It has phone lines. We're coming off the Browns game. Jets have won 2 in a row. I'm like, woohoo, Jets. Yeah, baby. Here we come. Chugga, toot. And a caller calls in and says, you're an idiot. And they're immediately going to collapse. And so he says, hey, I'll make you a bet. I'm like, all right, lay it on me. What do you have? He says, if the Jets lose the next 2 games, which was in New England and in Baltimore, you have to shave off your beard completely if you lose a bet. And I said, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. I'm like, they're going to be heavy underdogs in both games. I'm not doing that. So we went back and forth. And then ultimately I said, okay, I won't shave it completely off, but I'll shave most of it if they lose both those games. But if they won both of those games, Dalton, he would have donated like $300 to this thing I was doing. So I said, oh, okay, wonderful. So I'm going to be honest. He caught me in a moment of weakness. All right. I was feeling the vibes of the winning streak, and he caught me. But here's the thing. They can totally do it with Tyrod Taylor revenge game. Huh? Quarterback change? Spark? Huh? Dalton, right? Please? Maybe?
I mean, it's certainly something. In theory, the passing game should look better, although we're not setting a very high bar there, right? They've been under 100. They've been under 120 passing yards in 4 of the last 5 games. So if he can hit at least 120, I guess that's an accomplishment. But I got to be honest, I'm not in on this one in Baltimore. I really love, actually, more than anything, the way this Ravens defense is playing. Man, Kyle Hamilton and those guys in that defense have gotten a lot better. The way they've played during this winning streak, I have a hard time, even whether it's Tyrod or Fields or whoever, I have a hard time seeing how the Jets are going to score a lot of points in this one.
Yeah, wish you were getting the 13.5 BG. That might.
That's
help.
right. Well, a lot of the so that bet happens live on the show, right? And immediately people are reacting. Oh my God, what are you doing, Paul? Stop! Shut up! Don't do it. And they said, fight for the spread in the middle. I wasn't looking at the comments. They said like, try to get the spread in there. Like, come on, or like negotiate at different points. So yeah, I've gotten a lot of heat for the negotiation skills or lack thereof there. And this captain may have to go down with the ship. Yeah.
Well, it will grow back, Dalton. It will grow back. So, that's the good news. Yeah, but he'll probably look a little more like you than he looks like himself.
Which, again, Dalton's a handsome guy over there. Look, he's been hitting the gym. I don't think it's going to help me. Him hitting the gym is going to help my body, but the beard game's looking strong. So, okay.
Yeah. Fantastic.
I mean, whatever works, man. I would have at least maybe negotiated, maybe even an alternate spread, maybe a 7.5 or something like that.
Yeah, right. Work the line down or something.
You talk about you talk about taking a gamble right there, man. I don't know if I'd be betting a beard on Jets Ravens. That's tough.
He thought he had 2 swings at the pinata. Dalton.
Yeah,
that's
sure.
the problem.
Patriots are like a short week trap game, but
the problem is too. Once you say it on air, they've got it recorded. Then it's a wrap. Yeah. Once you make the deal, it's the virtual handshake there. Once you say it on air, then it's the gospel.
100%. Because I had
bets, man.
Yeah, that's a caller called into the show today and said, "Hey, you're Paul. Screw the bet. What's he going to run down to your house and attack you with a shaver? Screw him." And I said, "No, I'm a man of my word, man. If I just say screw that, then every bet in the rest of existence doesn't mean crap because I can just cancel out on it when I want to. So no, I'm a man." Again, the Jets better take care of business here, but I am a man of my word, damn it. And if that happens, let it be known. And here's the worst part. So if you didn't think that was bad enough. So my dad calls into the show. He says he calls me a moron for taking the bet in general. Calls me an idiot. I'm like, thanks, Dad. And he's like, hey, how about this? Let's make it more intense. I'm like, well, I don't think that's necessary. He says if the Jets lose to the Ravens, so we'd find that out around 5:00 on Sunday Eastern time if that were to happen. Between that and Thanksgiving, if people on my channel donate 100 memberships, we will live stream my beard being shaved off. And I said, what the hell? I didn't sign up for that. And then all the fans went, yeah, great idea. Yeah. So now, unfortunately, there's another layer of the bet. So it just keeps getting worse, though. Yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah. Now you're being incentivized to do it, man. Yeah. You're putting yourself in a bind here, man. This is a real bind.
Bad
bind.
Not ideal.
Bad bind.
But here's the good news. And Dalton, before we get you out of here real quick, the positive news is while my beard is still on my face, me and my dad are flying to Notre Dame, heading to South Bend. Again, you do both NFL and the college football show at PFF. So give me anything you can on this. This is awesome. Me and my dad are diehard Notre Dame fans. He raised me on it. I did watch Rudy last night, Lurch. So I watched that and I was tearing up a couple of times. I haven't seen Rudy in a long time. I'm going to be honest. This is like a stupid thing to admit. Vince Vaughn, I totally forgot he was in that movie. I forgot that he was a running back. And I saw like, is that Vince Vaughn over there? Anywho, but so I did get my game ready for that. And we're going out there for a couple days to see Syracuse Notre Dame. So Dalton, as their college football guy on top of the NFL stuff, any advice, anything heading into this? Because it's Notre Dame, and that would be special if you're just a college football fan, let alone being a Notre Dame fan. Like, this is going to be special. It's going to be hard to take it all in.
I mean, for sure. You said you haven't been there before, right? Been to South Bend
I have
before?
Never been there for a game or nothing, just to visit. I've never been there.
I only did it once for the playoff game this past playoff run when they beat Indiana. So I'd never been there before. I don't know much about the town. I would say just, if you haven't been to the campus before, walk around campus and, get a feel for all of that. It is a very nice campus, obviously, and touchdown Jesus and the whole thing, all that stuff at Notre Dame. Do all the traditional stuff that really goes on pregame, especially. Get there early. It's an electric atmosphere. I know I was there for a playoff game, but I'm sure it's electric every single time in that building, and especially with Notre Dame, look, they got to beat Syracuse and Stanford to get in the playoff. They got to be liking that road right there. So it is a big game in the sense of, it's a must win. Their last two games are must wins, but I'd expect a pretty dominant showing from the Irish there.
Yeah, there we go. It's fun time. South Bend's a great place. All right. Thank you, Dalton. Always good to talk to you. We'll catch up with you before Thanksgiving, my friend.
Absolutely. Appreciate you guys as always.
All right, there he is. Dalton Wasserman, PFF, giving us some love on all things NFL. Always appreciate his insight on all of the games. Boy Green, a lot to unpack there. What's on your mind? We had some breaking news there. That was interesting again in the middle of our interview.
Right, a couple of times. I think Shedeur, well, again, I guess neither of them were surprising, right? Because like Dylan Gabriel had a concussion, and as me and you have talked about extensively,
it's been
on
an extra week now for all the concussions.
Correct.
We saw last season and before when they put the original concussion protocol in place that guys who, quote, had mild concussions, if that even exists, were able to get back by the next week. Okay, if they cleared the tests.
It was very possible.
Now they've complicated the tests a little bit more and have kind of spread out that, well, you can't clear this hurdle until a day or 2 days after you clear this hurdle. They just changed the protocols. I don't know exactly what they are, but I've talked to enough insiders to understand it.
Right, so like it's nearly impossible.
So it's nearly impossible if you get concussed on Sunday that you're coming back the following Sunday. It's usually at least one game, and then we'll see from there. And most guys are getting back in 2 weeks. Okay, we've seen that consistently. So thought was he's not going to be there. But let's talk about Shedeur, because I said it to Dalton there, and I really believe it to be true. This whole thing has been such a disaster for both the Browns and Shedeur. Okay.
Sure.
Poor Shedeur is, I shouldn't say poor Shedeur, but Shedeur has been, victim of being pushed so far down the depth chart that it was almost like he couldn't be seen when it all began, with both Pickett and Flacco, and then them drafting Gabriel, and then them also drafting Shedeur. 4 quarterbacks don't fit on an NFL roster, So first he has to start his NFL career in that situation, all right? And then it kind of progresses and things start happening with the injuries and stuff. And all of a sudden the trade deadline comes up and they just decide they're just going to clean house with the vets. And so, and again, what is Cleveland thinking here? Mysteriously, they ship off both the veteran quarterbacks and now leave the whole team to the 2 rookies. All right. But still, they don't want Shedeur, and they're even being cagey about saying Shadeur's the backup. Like, what more punishment did this poor guy need? I mean, like, what has he done? I mean, I understand he hasn't done anything in the NFL, but what has he done personally to not be named a backup in that situation right away? The fact that they even delayed that, got cagey about
that was weird.
Press conferences were like, that hasn't been decided yet. What's to decide? You got 2 damn quarterbacks that are worth anything on your roster. One guy's a starter, one guy's a backup. It's pretty simple. It's math. There's nothing hard here. So I don't understand what they're doing to essentially keep him down.
Mm-hmm.
And then now they find themselves in a situation where he has to play because he's the backup and the starter's hurt. Okay. And the starter, by the way, hasn't been playing all that well. All right. Been pretty pathetic.
Well, right.
It's been a disaster so far in terms of the starts that he's gotten. Maybe not his fault either with the way that this team tends to handle things. And now he's in there and they're still like kind of bad mouthing him. They're still like, saying weird, cagey stuff. Where's the we got confidence and, Shedeur is coming along and, the coach stuff that we're supposed to hear. And instead, they're like, if they said earlier this week, if Gabriel clears the protocol, he will start. Why would you even say that? Number one, nobody's clearing the protocol in a week. It's pretty much proven fact in the NFL this year that nobody's clearing in a week. So he's not. Okay. And then why? And then it's just another stab at Shedeur.
Sure.
And just don't say anything about who
started.
Wait. Say, we have to wait until the end of the week. And then once we find out what's up with Dylan, then we'll
let
a decision.
you know. Yeah.
That wouldn't be a stab in the back to Shedeur. But the idea that Dylan will start if he clears the protocol is clearly across the face of Shedeur Sanders. What's the problem here? What has this young man done besides have Sanders as his last name? What's the problem? I just don't get it. He
Yeah.
needs to get out of Cleveland if he ever wants to do anything in the NFL, in my opinion. Go ahead.
Here's the thing: if any of you guys are on Facebook, you can set your relationship status. There's single, engaged, married, but there's another option. It's complicated. I used to be on Facebook. It's complicated is what you could put. This thing's complicated. My feelings are very all over the place because ahead of the Browns Ravens game, not this one, it was the previous one. Adam Schefter dropped a bomb in article form that during the draft, the Baltimore Ravens were going to select Shedeur Sanders, and they were going to turn in the card. They call Shedeur and say, hey, you want to be a Raven, basically? And apparently he says, no, I don't. I don't want to be a Raven. I don't want to be a backup to Lamar Jackson. There's no path, basically, to starting lineup. Don't draft me. I'd be displeased with that selection. So the Ravens go, all right. Whoop, whoop, whoop. They switch to whoever the hell they pick, and Cleveland ends up with Shedeur. So I don't like, while it happens, your guy Eli Manning, right? He didn't want to go to San Diego at the time, and he forces his way there. And I thought that was weird back then too, but whatever, it works out for Eli Manning. So Shedeur using the Sanders family name or whatever to flex his muscles to put himself, now it's different, 5th round versus 1st round, but he got to force his way, quote unquote, to Cleveland. They were one of his teams apparently that he wanted to go to, because I'm sure he read the room, went, oh, opportunity here. That's clear as day. So my feelings are complicated. Like the Ravens thing, to be honest, if I was advising Shedeur, I would have went like, go to Baltimore, be with an MVP. And by the way, he wasn't healthy this season anyway. They had to go to Cooper Rush. Shedeur would have had a great opportunity with the Ravens if he would have went in that direction. But not even knowing that, like just getting time. I think too often, Lurch, we take the cheese in front of us. We don't think. We talk about this NIL thing and the draft, right? Yeah. Dante Moore is the Oregon quarterback. Not to go on too much of a tangent here, but he's the Oregon quarterback. And apparently there's a $2 million NIL check sitting on his desk if he wants to come back. Or he could go to the draft. If he goes to the draft, you get the immediate rush of millions of dollars, and your life changes forever, even though it's a little bit different in the NIL world. But if you're not ready, you get that immediate dopamine rush, and then it's over. If you stink as a quarterback, you're not getting that second contract. It doesn't matter. If you go when you're ready, you get that rookie deal, and you get the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and all these big contracts. So, sometimes you don't take the cheese in front of you. I think Shedeur took the cheese of, let me go to a place I could start immediately. I'm ready to go. But there weren't enough people in his camp around him saying, maybe you're not ready to go to be a starter immediately. Let's go to the best place. Ravens, world-class organization. Lamar, like it could be an idol for you. Look at him. He's a terrific quarterback in the league. You could get to learn from him, marinate, be around him. And if your rookie contract runs out and the worst thing you did is for 4 years, you learn from Lamar Jackson, not too shabby. And you're going to get another NFL opportunity coming off that. So that's a complicated thing for me. There's stuff like that on the Shedeur resume where I like look at it sideways, but there's others to everything you just said, which don't seem to make sense. If the Browns obviously thought that Dillon Gabriel was a better quarterback. Dillon Gabriel was taken in the 3rd round. Shedeur was taken in the 5th. But if they really didn't want him, and if you look to the camera shot from the draft room when they drafted him, and Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry doing like the most tepid golf clap of all time, it looked awkward. And now everything that's happened, it just resonates and reiterates everything we thought during the draft, that they didn't want him, and there's some higher power thumbing the scale to make it happen. And now it's just awkward. It's just incredibly strange. So now they have no choice. Shedeur's the guy. And I imagine he's going to look good against this Raiders team. They stink. I mean, look what the Cowboys did. And I know the Cowboys have a prolific offensive ability, but man, I think Shedeur's going to have a really good performance. And then what? You said emphatically, oh, Dillon Gabriel's a guy if he's healthy. Well, now what? If Shedeur balls out, you're going to send him to the bench. Everyone in the universe is going to be in an uproar. So it's a massive drama situation. But again, to me, my feelings are it's complicated because Shedeur has done some weird self-inflicted wounds during the draft process and pre-draft process. And also there's another side of it that he should get his fair shot too. So it's complicated.
It is complicated. I think everything you said makes total sense, and I'm not in disagreement with any of it. But what I would also say is Shedeur isn't the first. He won't be the last. And dare I say, there have maybe been hundreds of maybe hundreds is a little big, but there've been a lot of quarterbacks.
Yeah, there's been multiple. I get what you're saying. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Believe in their talents.
Yep.
And don't want to be drafted by a team like the Ravens. Great organization. I agree with everything, again, you said about the Ravens organization. But they have a quarterback, and that quarterback's going to be here likely for the next 5 years. Okay? Unless something happens to Lamar Jackson injury-wise, he's probably still their quarterback 5 years from now. Maybe at that point it starts winding down. So if you're Shedeur and you have dreams of being a starting quarterback sooner rather than later, playing for the Ravens is not the place you want to go. They've got a guy that there's no way they're sitting him until it's done. So you're sitting behind a guy who, until he's either injured and out of the game or retires from the game, that you're not going to pass. You're only going to play mop-up duty. You might get chances when he gets hurt, and he does get hurt from time to time because of the way he plays the game. But that's it.
Sure.
And, I can understand a young man like him, regardless of his last name and his ego, that says, that's not the best situation for me. I'd probably prefer not to do that. I'd probably prefer to be in a place where at least, it's a little unsettled at quarterback, or the guy's not like a lock to be up for the MVP every year, which is what Lamar Jackson is. I mean, so I kind of get that. So I'm actually, believe it or not, a little bit in the kid's corner on this one in terms of if the Ravens did call me, I might be like, Ravens, that's the terrible fit, Again, maybe at that age, maybe at that stage, you shouldn't be, okay? And please, I want to be very, very clear. I am not saying that Shedeur Sanders is an accomplished NFL quarterback, or frankly, if he's going to be any good at all. What little we've seen and what his coaches, I don't know if I trust the coaches and the staff and the people in Cleveland, because they're not too good about evaluating people most of the time and doing things the right way. But if I'm to give them any credence, they are clearly saying to all of us, he's no good right now. He's he's a project, okay? There's much to be done before he could get on the field as a starting quarterback. We'll see about that. I don't know. But what we've been told and what little we've seen doesn't look great for him. But that is not, you really can't look at that small sample size and those people who have made that decree and determine that. I'm not a believer of that either. So it's like, well, which side do you want to believe here? I also did see some throws in that game, despite the fact that overall it was a poor performance. There were 2 or 3 throws in that game. I was like, whoa, baby. That's what I'm talking about. Over the top of the linebackers, over the middle, 25 yards down the field, and a strike right to the guy in stride moving across the field. So there were actually a couple of throws in that game. I was like, maybe I see a little NFL arm talent there. So I'm not ready to rule him out. I'm not ready to say that he's going to be great. I'm in the middle. He's a rookie who's barely played, so I'm not ready to make any judgment on him. But I actually find myself oddly, because I am not a Sanders fan in general. I'm not a fan of the whole egomaniacal craziness thing.
Sure.
But I actually find myself in an odd position of being in this kid's corner because I don't like the way he's being treated. I don't like the way he's being handled. I don't like the little snappy little press conference quips that for no reason are attacking this young man. What has he done? What has he done? And if he does go out there and ball, as you said this weekend, what are they going to do now? Still tell us that Dylan Gabriel's better? Dylan Gabriel's had what? 3 chances to start? Is it 2, 3?
I think it's maybe even more than that.
It's been trash. It's been total trash so far. Now they have a trashy team and they don't have great receivers. And there's a lot of reasons it's probably trash. It's not all on Dylan Gabriel, but so far, not too impressive. Not too impressive. So I'm rooting for Shedeur this weekend. I hope he goes out and balls. I want to see this problem become a problem because I think it'll make life in the NFL more interesting for a couple of weeks. So let's do it.
That's true. By the way, Dylan Gabriel has appeared in 8 games and has had 6 starts so far this season.
6 starts
so
already.
6.
You want to run his numbers? Want to run some of his numbers at us? Can you get him? You want to run his numbers?
Oh yeah, I will in a second. Okay. But I just want to play devil's advocate, right? So you said that Shedeur, right, gets a call from Baltimore. He's like, Baltimore. Like, I just don't see it, right? He's confident in his own abilities. Yep. Okay. Lord, you make a very compelling case. Lamar, MVP, multi-time MVP. How am I going to get on the field? Okay, that makes sense. But in the same breath, Shedeur Sanders and his family said, Cleveland. Oh, here we go. This is the quarterback factory I want to go to. Do you see this jersey on the screen, folks? This is a viral jersey that exists, and it goes around all the time. This is a Cleveland Browns fan. I didn't know they existed. And you go through all these names. These are all the 30-something names that the Cleveland Browns have been through since 1999, starting there with Tim Couch on the top and working its way down to all kinds of obtuse names. So Shador said, Baltimore, come on. That's no place for me. Oh, but Cleveland, where quarterbacks clearly don't go to die. That's the place. If I could handpick it, that's where I want to go.
Yeah,
what?
that was a bad choice. And
with Dylan Gabriel being drafted in the same draft 2 rounds earlier, you want to go there out of all the choices? What? I don't know. I got a question. I got to throw a challenge flag. I don't have the penalty prop near me, but that's where I throw the flag.
But did he say yes? Do we know that he did say yes, or did they just draft
him?
He
had to.
You don't get a choice in the draft. They draft you.
Well, okay. So
they draft you. Now you decide whether you're showing up or not.
Well, sure, but there are threats before, right? So, like, for people that don't know, on the TV copy, right, we're at the 5th round at pick 120. But the real what we see on TV versus what's happening, they're 5, 6, 7, 8 picks ahead at that point. So there's all kinds of like calls and things that are happening on players that are supposed to go next and things of that nature. Shador, the same way it was happening for Baltimore. Baltimore was writing his name down on the card. They were about to turn it in for Shador. They call him up for the, hey, buddy, you ready to be a Raven? And most answers are, oh, yeah, this is the greatest day of my life. But he didn't. He went pound sand. Hell no, I don't want to be in Baltimore. Don't draft me. And they switched the card. So same thing for Cleveland. He could have done the same thing. You're already in the 5th round. What? We talked about this with a few Syracuse prospects. Unfortunately, we haven't had a lot of Syracuse first rounders, but they say when you get to that late in the draft, sometimes it's better to be a free agent because then the power shifts to you. Right. You choose the best place to go. Right. You evaluate every situation. Everyone's calling you, ooh, Shador this, Shador that, or whoever the player is. They're like, hey, we'll offer you this, we'll offer you this. It becomes free agency. The power shifts to you. In the draft, to your point, the power's with the teams. They can draft whoever they want. But yeah, I would assume that Shador said yes. If he said no to Baltimore, how did he not say no to Cleveland, especially with everything going on? And if Shador indicated that he didn't want to go to Cleveland and the Browns drafted him anyway, considering Deshaun Watson, Dylan Gabriel, Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett on the team, that seems like you welcomed the disaster. Let's draft this guy who clearly doesn't want to be here, and he's our 6th quarterback, and he has Hollywood written all over him. That doesn't make any sense. So that's why I tend to believe that he must have given it the stamp of approval, which, again, to me, makes no freaking sense.
Yeah, it doesn't. I think if we could bring him to the old Temple of Regret, I think he would be saying, "I live in the Temple of Regret right now," because they have not treated him well. Okay,
no,
and even though he's going to be their starting quarterback this weekend, I don't know that he has the full support of the organization behind him.
Clearly not.
They're just waiting to not have to start him. Is there anybody else? Anything else? Maybe.
Which they invited this. They drafted him. What are they doing?
I don't understand. Right. So why did they draft him? The theory out there, Boy Green, and I think it's looking more and more like it's true, is that ownership basically ordered Stefanski and their GM to draft him. And that's why we saw the golf clap. And that's why, they were like, we just drafted a quarterback. We don't need another one, and the owner was like, draft him. This guy is a potential. He should have been a first rounder. And he's sitting here in the 5th round, and we're going to let him walk by. Let's take 2 swings at the pinata, Dylan Gabriel and Shador.
I'm sure that's what they said.
Not? We've had all these problems with our quarterbacks for 1,000 years. Let's give ourselves 2 swings instead of 1. Why wouldn't we do that? Is there some great
that makes sense
to tell me?
To be honest,
way better than him talent-wise. So they took him. I mean, I think it was a dumb, silly, ridiculous pick, but there is some, dare I say, breath of logic to it if you truly believe that he's a good player. We don't know yet. We really don't know yet.
So you're rooting for him?
I find myself rooting for him. I mean, it's a tough thing to say, but I find myself rooting for him. And it's mainly just because I see him being treated poorly for no reason. Look, some people popping up in the comments with some thoughts on that. Okay, so here's one right here from Macho Talk Sports. He says, Sanders gets killed from the media in the NFL for picking where he wants to go, but Eli did it, and no one batted an eye, and so did John Elway, and the list goes on and on.
Well, Lurch, you tell me this, because this is good. I'm glad Macho brought this up, right? So when Eli made that decision, I was 10 or 11 years old. So while I'm a massive football fan and I've rewatched that draft and all kinds of things from it, I can't speak to it. You were there, Lurch, and when I say general there, like you were of well thought. You were not 10 or 11.
Yes.
So you tell me, Is this true? Did no one bat an eye when Eli did that? Because, like, for me, when I heard about this in my youth and then later, I'm like, oh my God, he did what? He forced his way. He wasn't the first one, to your point. John Elway did it in 1983 with the Baltimore Colts and Denver Broncos and all that jazz. But was this made like big news that Eli was flexing his muscles and not going to San Diego and his father's influence and all that stuff? Was that a big deal back then?
All right, I gotta take you back a little bit to answer this question
Okay.
completely.
All right. Okay.
So let me start by saying I'm going to be a bit of a contrarian on this topic, unfortunately, and I am very rarely the contrarian.
That's fine.
But
I like when you shoot straight, so go ahead, give it to me.
Straight and admit my flaws when they are out there. I will put them out there on display for all of you to see. Okay.
Okay. All right.
When Elway pulled that nonsense, as I called it back in the day, and I was there for that one too, by the way.
1983.
Right? You know, I was like, this guy's a bum. What a dirtbag. What an egomaniacal jerk. I rooted against Elway his entire career. I never liked the look of him, his face, his arm, his ridiculous zipping it 5 yards to guys at 100 miles an hour thing. All right. I was not, and probably never will be, a John Elway guy. I've softened a bit in my old age.
Okay. All right.
But I really had a hatred towards John Elway. And it was based on one thing and one thing alone, not John Elway, the person or anything. That one decision and how he basically held a team hostage.
Baltimore Colts.
Him, and ends up where he ends up with Denver. All right, to the Baltimore Colts, which I just thought it was an awful thing for sports.
Yeah.
Now years pass, and then this thing happens with Eli. And yes, I was right there in the
20 years later, basically.
Giant fan that I am. Yes. So my recollection is, number one, it wasn't nearly as big a deal. Okay. In the media, it was covered. It was a story. There's no
New York, I'd imagine so.
His hand. It made the headlines in the back pages of the New York Post and the New York Daily News and the New York Times. All right, it was a big story. But I think because of, and I think this is part of it, because what happened here is San Diego, then the San Diego Chargers, now the LA Chargers, had the number 1 overall pick.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
They were going to pick Manning. Manning basically said, no.
Don't do it.
All right.
Right.
The Giants stepped in because they needed a quarterback. Okay. And they tried to broker a deal. The Giants had the number 4 pick. Correct. And actually the way that went down, and you can check history to be sure of this, Boy Green, but I'm pretty sure the way this kind of went down was like both teams made their picks and then essentially the picks were swapped. So we didn't know officially about the trade. The trade had obviously been consummated, but we didn't know about the trade until the Giants, who I think were picking 4th, picked Phillip Rivers. They picked Phillip Rivers with the intention that player was going to San Diego. And then essentially, they swapped. Okay. And the trade was made official. So I don't remember whether Eli walked out there and put on the old San Diego.
He did.
Okay,
we have it. I can pull that up.
I'm right. My recollection is correct then. I mean, it's a long time ago, so I'm trying to remember this. But that was my recollection, is that, they got to 4, they picked, and then the swap was made, and Eli ended up in New York. And then it came out kind of at that point that Eli had told San Diego, no thanks. All right. And that's
this is him holding up the San Diego Chargers jersey. That happened. Yeah.
So, and I think I remember, like, he was a little, like, not so smiley, okay, we see him smiling there, but it looks like a half smile. Like, Eli was just like, okay, this ain't the real deal. So he knew what was going down. He had made that demand. And and I think the reason it doesn't get as much pub is also because, look, both teams ended up happy. They got a great quarterback. Rivers was terrific for them. Eli was even better for the Giants. They both ended up with really good guys who maybe both of them will be in the Hall of Fame before too long, but I just think, they got 2 great quarterbacks and life went on. So, in the case of Baltimore, they didn't get their quarterback and life didn't go on so great for them. So maybe there is more of a rub there with what Elway did to them.
Because, look, like Sean Merriman, lights out. He's one of the best defensive players in Chargers history. Mm-hmm. Phillip Rivers was a wonderful quarterback who didn't win a Super Bowl, so be it. Nate Kading was a wonderful kicker for them for a while. Mm-hmm. So they got 3 more, and again, very quarterback for quarterback, and then 3 very usable players. So, unbelievable.
And the Giants,
so interesting.
Giants gave up some serious stuff to make that trade.
They did. Wow.
They're both organizations. So it ended up being a win-win, and that's probably why it's talked about less also.
I guess so, yeah. But I was curious in the moment, right? Like, oh my,
in the moment. And here's my contrarian thing.
Yeah.
Okay. In the moment, You know, I was like, I'm a Giants fan. You know, I was like,
Oh,
you are mad, man. Absolutely. You know, who the heck wasn't going to freaking stupid San Diego, New York, baby, Mecca? You know, I was the crazy New York
unbelievable.
guy that I sometimes can be.
And you
So, yeah,
hated John Elway's guts for that same decision.
hated him.
20
Hated him.
years later, you're like,
Absolutely.
woo,
Flogged
come here,
him.
man.
If I had been doing talk radio back then, I would have been like, this guy's a bum. He's a trash. He should be banned for the NFL. I would have been hot taking it like there's no tomorrow. And he came in and I was like a church mouse over here. That was great. Yeah, good. I wouldn't want to play for San Diego either. Cool. So, yeah, I am the great contrarian on that. That just shows you sometimes what your fandom can do to you in certain situations, how you become so damn tainted. I try never to be that guy. I always try to be the neutral guy, even though I have fandom and I wear it on my sleeve. I still will say, all right, but I can still see the forest through the trees here, you know. But on that one, I was kind of like,
fair enough.
I like that Manning name on the back of that jersey. See, it's sitting right behind me. All right, you see that Manning name right there? There it is. All right, there it is.
Pretty legendary. Is that the Super Bowl ball above it? You know?
Yes, it is.
So
no, that's a different autograph ball. Remember, the Super Bowl ball looks like a regular ball.
Oh yeah, that's true. Right.
I actually had it up there. I squoze it in there for a show or two. All right, where I put I wanted to see if you noticed that I had the ball back up there. So
normally I do.
Keep your eyes behind me, Boy Green. Okay. One of these days, the other ball, which is the Eli David Tyree ball, autographed by both guys, the catch, the game, a ball from that game with all the insignias, the actual game balls from that game. It wasn't used in the game, but it was set to be used in the game. It just never got on the field. And yes, I have that ball, and it is autographed by both guys. So yeah, you might see if you see a brown ball up behind you, and you kind of see an Eli Manning autograph, because I usually kind of turn it so Eli's facing the camera. That's the ball.
By the way, shout out to both of those individuals. You know, sometimes when you get autographs, they don't care and they just do it small. And
they do it really
they
nice.
Clearly knew what this ball was for because of the stories we told in the past, and they had it full beautiful display. So they both did a wonderful job on the autograph. But normally I pay attention because, like, when I do interviews, I'm like, someone has a bookshelf. I'm like, hey, what books do you got in the back? They're like, oh my god, I've never been asked that. And then so picking the background and things of that nature. You love that in your sports broadcasting classes, right? When people are doing highlights, they don't just say, hey, look, number 10 threw it to number 15 touchdown.
Correct.
You highlight the subtleties of, look at this weird thing that happened over here, or this, or this, or this. You really like, sort of digging into the details.
So there you have it. So that was quite the convo on that.
There you go.
Hey,
thank you for that comment, Macho.
Yeah, that was great, and that's very, very true. And here, one other on the Browns. That's where this all started. 41 starting quarterbacks since 1999 for the Clowns.
Good Lord.
I'm going to assume that that's a good stat. I don't know anything.
Yeah,
about
that sounds. I'll verify that. But
Stranger. I love the little coded names.
I love that too. That's very nice. But it's 2025, Lurch. There's a lot of quarterbacks. My God,
that's a lot of quarterbacks. That's the mess that Cleveland is. And then I don't know why I feel bad for Shador, because he's he comes with a lot of baggage.
Apparently,
he comes with a lot of baggage, but I feel bad for him because they're just raking him, and it's not right. It's tough for him to defend himself right now, and they keep putting in positions where he can't really defend himself. So the only thing he can do to answer the call right now is he's getting an opportunity this weekend. He has to cash in. Okay,
100%.
He has to deliver. If he can deliver, then he starts to get into a position of power a little bit more. Then he can say a few things. But in the meanwhile, he can't really say anything and playing lousy. They're lousy. They're losing games. He got a little bit of a chance last week. It didn't look so good. You're not speaking from a position of power. Everyone's just going to say you stink. Don't talk. All right. Yeah. But if you don't stink anymore, then you're allowed to talk. So, and I don't know what he's going to say. Hopefully he says the right things, but he's been put in a terrible position there. And I'd like to see him get out of that to see what he can or can't be. I'm curious. I'm very curious. He has a last name that has a lot of pedigree in NFL lore. And I want to see if that pedigree, as it often does, outweighs the things that he doesn't have as an NFL quarterback and still makes him a starting quarterback or maybe even something greater. If it's to be. I don't know if it's to be. There are lots of sons in the world that make it all the way to the pro level and aren't that good. Is Bronny James ever going to be anything to speak of? Probably not. He's got an amazing last name. But is he ever going to be anything? I mean, he's probably lucky even to be playing on the Lakers. So, I want to see how this works out. And what Cleveland is doing right now is they're not letting anybody see.
Right.
And they're humiliating and embarrassing the kid. And I don't like that. So.
All right, let me go to more breaking news. Shout out to Big Al. I did see this. Marvin Harrison Jr. is out again. Remember, he had appendicitis, so he missed the previous week. He will miss again. And Big Al, I appreciate that. Just made a switch to the fantasy lineup. Michael Wilson, you're back in, young man. Here's the problem. You know what? And I know people are going to feel really bad for this first world problem over here. I've got too many good receivers. Stephon Diggs, great. George Pickens, great. Justin Jefferson, great. Michael Wilson, now you're in the lineup. Now I got Michael Pittman. He's got to ride the bench, and that feels terrible. I wish I could replace one of my terrible running backs, and I put Pittman in there again. But I got too many good receivers, so we'll see if I can make some more moves at running back. Good Lord.
I was hoping Harrison was going to play this week for a lot of
Michael!
reasons.
Nice. Hey, back in the lineup, baby. Just made that change. Nice.
Get back from appendicitis. I don't know. Maybe still got stitches or something. I don't know.
I've never had it, thank God. I had a scare, like whatever it was, a couple months ago. I'm like, oh my God, did my appendix back to explode? And it's not.
Again, I'm no doctor, but it might just be because he still has an open wound or something. You know, like even
could be.
You know, like
it's probably tender, I would imagine.
Yeah, put a guy in harm's way that way after. You know, I mean that can be, again, it's routine, but somewhat serious too because it developed all the way to appendicitis. You know, it's not just we see a problem, let's get your appendix out. That's routine. Now you get an episode, and then that leads to appendicitis. Now we got to get it out right now, which is what happened with him. So yeah, that's
what happened to my dad too. That it was about to burst, and as they were going in, it did burst, and it cut into a lot of his organs. It can be very dangerous if your appendix blows inside your body. I have one more comment to get to before we sign off and get to some of our other interviews today. Badshaw said, BJ and Lurch, y'all need to watch Speak No Evil. James McAvoy from Splittin' is in it. Ben, we need to tell y'all, I keep forgetting, same type of thriller movie. Yeah, James McAvoy has a series of these kind of movies, so I know, Lurch, you struggled to get through.
Is the content a little better in Speak No Evil, or is it even more like?
I don't think I've seen Speak No Evil, or I just can't remember it. Maybe I flip it on. I'm like, oh yeah, I totally saw that. The name isn't ringing any bells, but I have seen a lot of James McAvoy. Again, has there's 2 or 3 of these split movies. So yeah, I don't know.
I was just wiggling in my chair during that movie. I like I said, I enjoyed the movie. His performance was outstanding. I was just wiggling in my chair though because I was just so like
the line's so close to reality.
What's he gonna do to these girls?
Realistic.
These 3 young girls. I'm like, what's he gonna do to these girls? Because this is a weird bleeping dude here, man. Like, what is gonna happen here? Is this gonna be really disturbing? That it's really gonna bother me after I turn this movie off? You know. About what he does, and fortunately that doesn't happen in the movie, but you know it was getting close. It was like
very close. That line, which is
turned into that crazy beast guy, and you were like, oh Lord, I mean, is it just going to start tearing people's limbs apart here? You know, like what is going to happen here?
But good suggestion, thank you, Batch. I'll check that if I haven't seen that already. I'll double check, but appreciate it.
Okay, as they say, we're just plumb out of time. We've got some really great content coming your way this week, though. We're going to be rolling out an interview, Syracuse facing Notre Dame. We will ask our Notre Dame insider all about his take on the whole Notre Dame pageantry. We're going to be talking with Ryan Roberts, who's covered Notre Dame for years and years. So we're going to do that. So that'll be dropping very, very soon. We've still got our usual live with Joe Bartle, of course, Survivor tonight, back on the beam for a live Survivor post-show. All right, that'll be right after Survivor tonight, about 9:45. Brett LaBelle back in the house with us. We've got Anthony Prohaska coming as usual, and Jake Asman.
Asman, yep.
So yeah, that'll be coming later this afternoon. So plenty to come. Big week of content as usual. Please, if you're not already a subscriber to our channel, just subscribe. Boy Green, you want to throw up the link there one more time. All right, you see it under my name as well, at MC Show Digital or youtube.com/MC Show Digital. That's where you go to. That's our homepage. And you just click on that big subscribe button. You become one of our community members. It doesn't cost you anything. And it might win you a $400 golf club. All right, so don't forget about that. It's too far. I can't reach it right now, BG. It's just a little too far away for me to grab it. So
just envision it. Close your eyes. Envision it.
All right, I'll put a video out there to show you. Maybe
I was going to say, then you'll never have to grab it again. Just boop.
No, I can't hit it. Then I'll make a mark on it or something. I was going to say I'll hit it in my yard or something, like drive it into my neighbor's house or something. That'd be fun. Anyway, yeah. So you can win yourself a free golf club just by.
If you want a chance at it, subscribe. It's free to do.
All right. Okay. So we got to go for today, but lots more content coming, folks. Thanks for joining us. Always do appreciate it. Thanks for all the dialogue and the comments, for all you that contributed there, and for those who just come along for the ride and watch. We love that as well. All right. We'll see you soon. Take care.